Act 2 of WOTP's Lux Radio Theater brings you one of the most beloved stories ever written. Little Women has all the endearing qualities that make for real drama, laughter, romance, and tears. And never has the story been presented more skillfully or with greater artistry than in this year's epic motion picture filmed in stunning Technicolor from the studios of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. Tonight's play is based on this film, which stars Elizabeth Taylor, Janet Leigh, Peter Lawford, June Allison, and Margaret O'Brien. Little Women is the story of the March sisters and their romances. Four girls whose loves and ambitions are completely different, but who are bound together by happy family ties. But even in the happiest of families, squabbles take place.
Look, Ma, I'm a spaceman.
It's my turn. Let me have a turn. Ma, Billy won't share.
Billy, take that fishbowl off your head this instant. Let your sister have a turn.
Aw.
Honey, I'm home.
Oh, Fred.
Darling, what's wrong?
Oh, Fred, the children have been bickering all afternoon. It's driven me to distraction, and it's taking a toll on my face. Any more of this, and you won't find me beautiful anymore.
Oh, darling, why not take the children down to the Franklin Parks and Recreation? Little Sally can go to a princess party, and Billy can sign up for the puzzle competition, and you can get a well-deserved break.
What a wonderful idea, Fred. With the children at the Franklin Parks and Recreation, I'll finally have time to scrub the grout on the patio. Franklin Parks and Recreation has saved our marriage and the grout.
And the goldfish.
Oh, Fred.
Franklin Parks and Recreation.
And now, the Lux Radio Theater curtain rises on the home of our Little Women.
We were four sisters, Amy, Jo, Beth, and I. I shall start our story during the winter of 1864, when Papa was still away at war. What a miserable Christmas, we all thought. How happy a Christmas it really was.
Well, at least we have a Christmas tree, Amy, and I think it's beautiful.
Christmas won't be Christmas, Beth. Not without presents.
Oh, it's dreadful to be poor. I especially feel it because I'm the eldest and I can remember when we used to be rich.
We're better off than a lot of people, Meg. Orphans, for instance. We have Father and Marmee and each other.
But we haven't got Father, Beth, and probably won't have him for a long time.
But Joe, the men in the army are having such a terrible winter. Marmee's right. We have to make sacrifices.
Only I'm tired of making over these same dresses year after year.
Well, I don't think any of you suffer as I do. You don't have to go to school with impertinent girls who label your father just because he's poor.
Oh, Amy, if you mean libel, then say so. And stop talking about labels as if Papa was a pickle bottle.
Well, you needn't be so satirical about it, Joe. It's proper to use good words and improve one's vocabulary.
Vocabulary? Christopher Columbus.
Joe, don't use slang words.
Oh, I just detest rude, unladylike young ladies.
And I hate affected snips.
Birds in their little nest agree.
Oh, I'll never get over my disappointment at not being a boy. Look at me, dying, simply dying to go and fight at Father's side, and here I am, sitting and knitting like a poky old woman.
Poor Joe.
Oh, thank you, Miss Beth. But I don't need any pity, because someday I'll be a famous writer and make my fortune. Not that I'll forget about my sisters. You'll all ride around in fine carriages. And you, my Beth, you'll have a new piano. And you, Meg, you'll have 10 dozen dresses and satin slippers and red-headed boys to dance with.
I shall like that, I thank you.
So there's no use fretting now. I'll get famous just as soon as I can. Meanwhile, let's rehearse the play.
Meanwhile, it's time for tea. Come, girls, help me with the tray.
Don't we ever have coffee anymore, Hannah?
Well, coffee is scarce and dear, and it seems to me you'd be...
What is it, Hannah?
Someone's looking in this room.
What?
Oh, keep away from the window.
But Hannah, who is it?
It's that Lawrence boy.
Where? Where is he?
Oh, next door in the Lawrence house, where he belongs. Only he does not belong at their parlor window, staring into our parlor window.
But what Lawrence boy?
Mr. Lawrence's grandson, of course.
I didn't know the old fusspot had a grandson.
Well, he just came home. First, he ran away from college.
Oh, that's the bravest thing I've ever heard of.
And when they found him, there he was, wounded in a army hospital. He'd lied about his age and enlisted.
Oh, how perfectly splendid. I should like to do the same.
Joe, what are you doing?
Well, if he can look out his window at us, I can look out of ours at him.
Josephine March.
Oh, he's still there. Gee, I'm glad he's a boy. I certainly would like to know a boy for a change and have a little fun.
Oh, how can you say such things?
I wonder what I could do to get to know him. Yoo-hoo, hello?
Oh, Joe, you're disgracing us.
Why? Why, that dreadful boy. He's waving at me.
Marmee didn't come home until late that afternoon. She'd been in the village helping poor Mrs. Hummel. As soon as Beth had brought her chair to the fire, I told Marmee my big news.
News, Meg? What news, dear?
I saw Mrs. King about the position, Marmee, and she's going to take me $4 a week.
Oh, Meg, I'm proud of you.
Oh, they have a beautiful house, Marmee, and the children are sweet. I won't mind working at all.
Was there any mail in the village, Marmee? A letter from Father?
Oh, you don't think he'd forget to write us at Christmas, do you? Amy, dear, the letter's in my muff.
A letter? A letter from Father?
He sent you all a little Christmas message.
How do you do?
Aunt March! Oh, Merry Christmas, Aunt March!
How nice of you to come.
Yes, it was nice of me to come. Here, a Christmas remembrance for each of you. Meg,
Thank you, Aunt March.
Joe,
Thank you, Aunt March.
Amy,
Thank you, Aunt March.
Beth.
Thank you, Aunt March.
Ha! When I was a girl, my aunts didn't have to come to me.
Oh, we plan to visit you tomorrow, Aunt March.
One never knows if there will be a tomorrow. Well, have you heard from that foolish father of yours, waltzing away to war and leaving others to care for his family?
We're very proud of Father, Aunt March, and there's nobody looking out for us.
Joe?
Highty-tighty. Ha! If your father had listened to me, young ladies, you'd be better off today. I begged him not to invest his money with that swindler. If I told him once, I told him...
Forgive me, Aunt March, but that was years ago and has nothing to do with now.
Besides, it was our money that got lost, not yours.
Don't be impertinent, miss. Oh, it's a waste of time to talk. Nobody listens to me anyhow. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Aunt March.
Aunt March, I'll walk to your sleigh with you.
And catch your death of cold while you're about it.
Aunt March, you still want me to work for you, don't you?
Fine time to ask me.
Well, I'd like to be your companion.
A companion should be companionable, young woman.
I will be, I promise. I'm willing to bury the hatchet.
Very well, then. Come over after the holidays. And bring an apron.
All right, thank you, Auntie. Merry Christmas.
For all her scolding, Aunt March had given each of us a new shining silver dollar. Supper would have to wait that night as we dashed off to the village store. And later, after we wrapped the presents we were giving to ourselves, Marmee took out the letter that had come from Papa.
And give my girls my love and a kiss. Tell them I think of them by day, pray for them by night, and find my best comfort in their affection at all times. I know they will remember to be loving children to you, will work diligently so that these hard times need not be wasted, and that when I return, I may be fonder and prouder than ever of my little women. How long the sad war will last. Mrs. March, ma'am. Yes, Hannah. A message from poor Mrs. Hummel, ma'am. She wants to know how soon you can come. Oh, right away. Amy, get my boots, dear. My wraps, Joe. Good night, my children.
Good night, Marmee.
Don't wait up for me. I may be late.
Merry Christmas. Good night.
Merry Christmas. A fine Christmas Eve. Papa far away and Marmee out taking care of sick people.
And our presents. They look so lonesome under the tree.
And there's nothing for Marmee. Nothing. She needs a new pair of slippers.
Well, I'm the man in the family while Papa's away, so I'll supply the slippers.
But how? Our money's all spent.
Well, I bought a book. I'll take it back.
But I thought of the slippers first, Joe.
So you did, Beth. Well then, I'll buy her army shoes, the very best to be had.
And I'll get her a nice pair of gloves. Pink ones.
A little bottle of cologne for me. Both Marmee and I just love cologne.
Oh, but won't the stores be closed?
Who cares? Come on, me hearties. We'll storm the citadel.
It was long past midnight when Marmee returned. We were huddled at the top of the stairs. We couldn't see her as she stopped by the Christmas tree, but we knew that she had found our presents.
But why is she crying? I can hear Marmee and she's crying.
Doesn't she like our presents?
Come on now, back to bed before she sees us.
Why is she crying, Meg?
Because she loves us, little Beth, and love and tears live very close together. Come on now.
Oh, Christopher Columbus! What a breakfast! Look! Kidney pie and sausage.
Popovers and coffee.
And everything.
Merry Christmas, girls.
Merry Christmas,
Christmas,
Hannah.
Hannah, you do beat the Dutch.
Oh, I can remember when I served a breakfast like this every day.
We must have been enormously rich.
Well, kindly pass the popovers, Meg.
Now wait for Marmee, Amy.
Oh, your mum's took breakfast and gone. She said she'll meet you all in church.
Gone?
Back to the Hummels. The baby finally come early this morning.
Another baby?
One after another. 6 children, half frozen, huddled in one bed, she said. Your mum took her breakfast to them.
I'm not hungry either.
Oh, Beth.
I said I'm not hungry.
But people are starving everywhere, every day. Well, if you're going to let that worry you, you'll never eat at all.
I try not to think about it.
Those people are far away, Meg, and we don't know them, but the Hummels are near, and we do know them.
You're not thinking of giving away our breakfast to the Hummels.
Yes, we are, aren't we, Joe?
Oh, no. You couldn't think of a thing like that. No.
Poor, hungry Amy. A few moments later, as we passed by the Lawrence mansion, loaded with food for the Hummels, there he was, Mr. Lawrence's grandson, and another young man.
Aren't you rather loaded down, madam? May I help you?
Oh, no, thank you, sir.
Josephine, must you lag so?
Just a minute. You're his grandson, aren't you, Mr. Lawrence's?
Why, yes. Yes, I am. I'm Theodore Lawrence, and this is my friend, John Brooke.
How do you do?
How do you do?
I'm Joe March, and I'd like you to meet my sisters, only I guess they're too far up the road.
Oh, what a pity.
Oh, we know all about you, you know. About how you ran away to join the army. I'd have done the same in your place. And how you were both in the same regiment, which is splendid, I think. Simply splendid.
Oh, we're pleased, Miss March. Simply pleased.
Josephine, come on.
Well, goodbye.
Goodbye, Miss March.
Goodbye, Miss March.
Really, Joe, I must say, really.
Oh, fiddlesticks.
What will they think? Stopping to talk when we hadn't met them properly.
Well, you weren't very friendly. You didn't even say, how do you do?
I don't like the way that man stared at me.
What man? Oh, Mr. Brooke? I didn't notice.
Well, I did. And he's still looking.
Who?
Mr. Brooke, don't look back.
Oh, pooh. Bye!
That was a big morning in our lives, surrendering our breakfast to the Hummel children and meeting young Mr. Lawrence and Mr. Brooke. The next afternoon, Joe was out on the walk shoveling snow.
Hello.
Hello! Hustle yourself out here and help me.
I can't. I have the quinsy.
Oh, what a shame.
Oh, it isn't contagious. I can have visitors, but I don't know anyone, though.
Well, you know me.
Well, would you care to come over and keep me company?
Well, I'll speak to my mother, Mr. Lawrence. You may expect me, though.
Thank you.
Well, here I am, Mr. Lawrence, and I brought you some blancmange. It's soft and will slide down easily. Quinsy, huh? Got some flannel there around your throat?
Oh, yes, you see? Thanks for the blancmange.
Well, I've come to entertain you. I'll read aloud and you can listen. I do love to read aloud.
Well, I'd rather just talk, if you don't mind. Won't you sit by the fire?
Oh, thank you. I love to talk too. Christopher Columbus!
What's the matter?
Well, this room. What richness. Oh, I call this splendor. That's what I call it. Splendor. Mr. Theodore Lawrence, you should be the happiest creature alive.
Well, it's just a room to me, and certainly doesn't make me happy. Some tea, Miss March? How many lumps?
1, please. 3. Now, do tell me all about yourself. Of course, I know all about your school and the army, but before that, what?
Well, I used to live in Europe with my parents before they died.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to Europe too, you know.
Oh, really? When?
Oh, well, I don't know exactly. You see, my Aunt March, I've decided to work for her as a companion. And oh, what a nervous, fidgety soul she is, too. Well, anyway, my Aunt March has rheumatism. And the doctor thought that baths, not that she hasn't got a bath, she has a very nice bath.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any baths while you were there, Mr. Lawrence? I mean, for your rheumatism?
I haven't got rheumatism.
Oh, well, neither have I, but you see, I figured baths wouldn't do me any harm. That is to say, while I was there. Because I've always wanted to go to Europe. Not for the baths, of course. Not at all, but for my writing.
Mm-hmm.
It's so good for writers. You see, Aunt March... Oh, you don't know Aunt March. What were you going to say, Mr. Lawrence?
Well, it was so long ago I've forgotten. But I'm not Mr. Lawrence, I'm Laurie.
Oh, well, Laurie. How are you getting along with your grandfather, Laurie?
Oh, fine. Once I got used to him. Isn't he a holy terror?
You should see my Aunt March.
Well, this blancmange looks too good to eat.
Oh, it is not. Meg made it. She is the oldest.
Oh, she is. You know, John and I were wondering...
Why should he wonder?
Well, he seems quite taken by your sister's beauty. Well, he wondered if there was anybody she liked.
Well, did he ask you to find out?
No.
Well, you may tell Mr. Brooke that we don't like anybody in our house. That is, we like a great many people, but we don't like young men. We like young men too, but we don't like young men who wonder about who else we like.
Oh.
And Meg is too young and too fine and far, far too clever to bother about who wonders about it. It's ridiculous.
I beg your pardon, Miss March.
Yes.
You're on fire.
What?
Your dress in the rear.
How clumsy.
Here, let me help.
Well, put it out. Don't just stand there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I hope it didn't hurt you.
That's the second dress I've scorched this week. You see, I like to toast myself, and I get too close. I think I'd better go home.
Oh, please don't go. It's Dola's tombs around here.
Is that why you stand at your window looking at us?
It's rude of me, I know, but you always seem to be having such a good time. When the lamps are lighted, it's like looking at a picture, Miss March. All of you gather around the fire with your mother.
Well, then why don't you come over? Then you'd be a part of the picture. And Marmee is so splendid.
Well, my grandfather mightn't approve. He'd say I was imposing. But in spite of that...
Oh, Bilge. I know his face frightens half of Concord, but it doesn't frighten me. Of course, every time I've ever seen him, he's been barking at something. Nevertheless, I rather like him.
Well, that's something, isn't it?
Oh, Mr. Lawrence.
Thank you, madam. My face frightens half of Concord, does it?
Yes, sir. Frankly, it does. You understand, I don't think you mean to frighten them, but your face is... Well, you asked me, sir, and yes, I do think so.
And I bark, do I?
I've heard you bark. Yes, sir. Perhaps you don't bark all the time, but you do bark. Yes, sir.
And with all that, you rather like me, do you?
Oh, yes, I do. I really do, in spite of everything.
And I like you. Have a cup of tea.
Oh, thank you. I had one. I was just going.
Oh, not so fast, young lady. I have something to ask you.
Yes, sir.
Unless you've asked her already, Laurie.
No, sir. I've had difficulty saying much of anything at all, sir.
Yeah, yes. Young lady, on Saturday night, there will be a cotillion of sorts in this house. We shall be happy if you and your sisters attend.
A cotillion? Here?
Well, will you attend?
Will we? I shall ask my mother, Mr. Lawrence. It's very grateful of you, sir. I'll go home and ask her right now. A cotillion! Christopher Columbus!
You know, Lori, I wonder if that young woman ever walks.
Christopher Columbus, sir. I wonder too.
Our little women are certainly excited to attend a cotillion at the Lawrence home. But even the splendors of the Lawrence home pale in comparison to Franklin's own Artcraft Theater. Discover the dazzling world of Hollywood. Marvel at the latest big screen spectacular. Feel the thrill of suspense, comedy, mystery, and romance with every film. Don't miss the magic of movies destined to become tomorrow's classics with stars cast to rise as legends. Go where stars shine bright and dreams are always in motion. See you at the Artcraft.
See the big scene up on the big screen. Let's go to the Artcraft Theater.
A party, an invitation to a party in the richest, most elegant home in Concord. No wonder we were so excited when Saturday night finally arrived. Yet, to be completely honest, only Amy and I really wanted to go.
You look just lovely, Meg dear.
Thank you, Marmee.
Just lovely. Now, where's Amy?
Oh, she's painting Joe's dress, Marmee.
She's what?
Joe's done it again, stood too close to the fire, and her best dress, too.
Oh, no.
Beth and I patched it for her, and now Amy's painting the patch to sort of blend it in. Watercolors.
Oh, that's splendid, Amy. Splendid. It's bright as rain now.
But it still shows, Joe. I don't know what you're going to do.
Oh, that's very simple. I shall spend the evening sitting in chairs with Beth.
Do I really have to go? Do I, Marmee? There be all those people.
But it would hurt their feelings if you stayed at home. And besides, little Beth, you must learn not to be afraid of people.
Well, you at least look most attractive, Beth. But look at me. My shoes are too tight. I have 19 hairpins sticking in my head and a patch on my back. I feel dreadful.
Joe, don't you have your white gloves?
Oh, all right. Oh, how I hate to be elegant. Well, good night, Marmee.
Good night, my dears.
Good night, Marmee.
Now, don't eat too much, Amy, and wait until you're asked.
Marmee, you'd think I were a child. Just tell Joe not to stride about and swear. She'll disgrace us.
I shall be prim as a dish. Come on, my dears, let's be elegant or die.
I'm glad we found this spot, Amy. Nobody can see us behind all these potted palms.
A palm in a pot is a mark of elegance. Can you see Meg?
Oh, yes. She's still dancing with Lori's friend.
Mr. Brooke?
Mm-hmm.
You know, my dear Beth, I do believe our Meg is stricken.
I think so, too. Dancing makes anybody dizzy.
I don't mean that.
Amy, just look. Just look at that piano over there.
Oh, isn't it perfectly absolute?
Why, it's bigger than our kitchen.
Who's that? Who's that behind the palm?
Oh, don't let him see me, Amy.
Whoa, why aren't you dancing, Miss Amy?
Mother thinks I'm too young, Mr. Lawrence. Besides, I'd rather mingle with my little sister than mingle with the crowd. She has an infirmity, Mr. Lawrence.
Oh?
She's shy.
Oh, I see.
But if it weren't for that, she'd be simply fastidious. She's a real artist, you know. Plays the piano beautifully.
Well, she should come over here and play sometime.
Oh, she'd never do that. She doesn't play for people, just herself.
But I wasn't going to listen to her. It's just that piano is going to ruin for want of use. Well, if no one cares to come, never mind.
Someone cares. Very much.
Oh? I didn't realize you heard what I was saying.
I heard, sir. I'm Beth, and I'll come if no one will hear me and be disturbed.
Not a soul, my dear, not a soul. And please tell your mother that I think all her daughters are are simply fastidious.
Oh, Beth, isn't he just perfectionary? Why, I think...
Amy, somebody's coming. Let's hide again.
Oh, it's that stuck-up Mrs. Gardner and her daughter. Don't move.
Did you see him, Sally? Theodore Lawrence still with that impudent Josephine March? Well, it's obvious she set her cap for him. Well, what can you expect, Mother? One of them has to marry for money since they have none of their own. Well, Mr. Lawrence will have something to say about that. I'm sure he has other ideas for the boy. Of course, it would be a triumph for Mrs. March. I must say she's managing the affair very well.
Amy, did you hear what they... Oh, Amy.
Now, this is the third dance, Joe, and I'm hanged if I'll let you refuse me again.
Please, Lori, don't ask me anymore.
Well, why not? How can a girl sit so much?
Oh, very well. See for yourself. There, I'm patched.
Oh, too close to the fire again?
You know, life will be far less complicated for me when the warm weather comes.
Well, the least you can do is...
Joe, something awful's happened.
Amy?
Well, it can't be that bad.
Well, what is it?
Oh, I can't tell you now. Not in front of him. Beth wants to go home. She's had a dreadful shock, and I think I want to go home too.
Where's Mag, Lori?
With John Brooke, of course.
Lori, would you fetch her, please?
Of course.
I don't understand, Joe. Coming home from the party so early. Well, I'm glad you all had a nice time.
Oh, yes, Marmee. It was splendid.
Simply splendid.
Marmee, you don't have any plans for us, do you?
Plans?
Well, you know, like wanting us to marry rich men or something.
Oh, yes, Joe, I have a great many plans. I want you all to be beautiful, accomplished, and good. Of course, I'd like to see you marry rich men if you loved them, but I'd rather see you as the happy wives of poor men, or even respectable old maids, than queens on thrones without peace or self-respect.
Oh, I'm never going to get married. Never.
Aren't you, my Joe? Now, go to bed, sweetheart. Go to bed.
One reason why Jo was so sure she'd never get married was because she wanted to be a writer far more than a wife. Jo never stopped writing. It left her very little time to spare, even for Lori.
Lori's here, Joe, and he said that you said that Aunt March said that you didn't have to go to her house today.
Well, Beth, just send him away.
He says he's just going to wait until you come down.
Oh, I wish he'd realize I haven't time for his nonsense.